There's no more room for delay, no more cushion of comfort you can hide under. I am breaking the barrier you constructed from excuses, fear, distraction, and deflection. My patience has been deep, long, and merciful, but it was never designed to be infinite when souls are hanging in the balance. While you buried my whispers beneath the noise of your life, I stood in the stillness waiting, not for me to move, but for you to stop running. That moment is now. And because you have continued on paths I never laid for you, loud voices I never authorized to direct your thoughts, and ignored nudges from heaven in favor of chaos that disguised itself as normal, I now must thunder. My voice will pierce the layers you've added around your spirit. It will not be soft this time. It will not be wrapped in passive waiting. This is a holy interruption, an urgent shaking. The silence you built around my instructions became louder than my warnings, and now I must disrupt that silence with urgency that feels like fire in your bones. You know this moment is not ordinary. Something in you is trembling, and it's not fear, it's recognition. Your spirit is responding to me even as your flesh tries to rationalize away the weight of this message. But I will not let you miss it this time. I am shifting the ground beneath your feet so that you cannot stay settled where compromise has made a home. You didn't ask for a storm, but I am commanding the winds to rise if it means your attention will finally return to me. I am not angry at you. I am jealous for you. I cannot and will not let the enemy hold you 1 second longer. That's why I'm not whispering this. I'm roaring it straight through your walls. You have delayed for too long, convinced that you still have time, but time has started listening to my countdown, not yours. I need you to feel the seriousness of this divine collision. I have watched you be buried in habits that hollow your soul, and I will not sit silently while what I purchased with my blood is handed to confusion and counterfeit. You are not too far gone, but you are dangerously close to missing the turn. So I'm commanding a halt. I'm demanding your spirit to look up. I'm activating everything I've deposited inside of you to war against the lies you've agreed with. My voice is not optional right now. It is the rescue you've been unknowingly crying for. I am cutting through every other voice, clearing the static, silencing the delays, and I will not stop speaking until your spirit stands up from where you've fallen and looks me in the eyes. My mercy is still here, but my mercy is now wrapped in command, because this moment is not about comfort. It's about correction that leads to resurrection. I am breathing forcefully into your timeline and issuing an order. Wake up. Open up. Receive fully, because the seconds ahead are filled with things you are not ready for if you don't respond. I know it's intense. It has to be. I know it's heavy. It must be. I am commanding because eternity is involved. I am commanding because delay has bred deception. I am commanding because the next thing that comes depends on whether you listen now or pretend this was just emotion. I am not emotional, I am eternal. And this is eternal intervention disguised as a digital moment, designed to shatter apathy before it becomes disaster. Because if I don't command now, the consequences will speak louder than I ever could, and I love you far too much to let that happen in silence. You didn't stumble upon this by accident, and you didn't arrive here through coincidence or curiosity. You were brought into this moment under direct divine authority, because the next phase of your life hinges on this exact word. This is not something to consider when you have more time, or to review when you feel more spiritual. This is the breaking open of a sealed instruction written in heaven with your name on it. I am not offering advice. I am not presenting possibilities. I am not laying out options. I am issuing a spiritual command that carries the weight of heavenly urgency behind it. There are moments I spoke to you with gentleness, and there are times I waited while you wandered. But this is different. This is a spiritual intersection where one road must be taken, and the other must be abandoned completely. This is that place where hesitation becomes disobedience, and indecision becomes danger. My order is clear, not because I seek control over you, but because I see what you can't, and what's ahead is too serious for you to continue operating on your own timeline. You have cried for clarity, asked for signs, prayed for deliverance, and now that I have wrapped the answer in a command, I will not let you shrug it off as just another thought. You are not one of the many, you are one of the marked. And those I mark, I command. I don't negotiate when it comes to saving you from destruction that you don't even see coming. I don't soften truth to make it more palatable when delay would cost you everything I'm trying to give you. There is a time to wait and a time to move, and this is the hour where movement must be immediate. I have seen the intentions of your heart, but intentions without obedience lead to stagnation, and stagnation in this season becomes a trap. This command is not a punishment. It's a rescue. It is the breath of heaven catching you mid-fall before you even realize how far you've drifted. And though it may feel stern, it's because my love is protective, not passive. I am not an observer watching you from afar. I am the king issuing a rescue from within the battlefield you've been silently struggling in. I did not wait this long to speak with suggestion. I am declaring this with the voice that spoke galaxies into existence, and now I am directing that same power toward the restoration of your calling. What you choose to do with this moment will ripple far beyond your understanding. There are people tied to your obedience, breakthroughs attached to your surrender, deliverances waiting on your alignment. My command is not just for you, it's through you. I'm lighting a fire inside of you that will refuse to be extinguished by excuses, fatigue, or fear. The urgency you feel is not panic, it's power. My spirit is igniting clarity that will override confusion and awaken direction you've long buried under distraction. This is not about your feelings, this is about your function. I've placed too much inside of you to allow one more day of hesitation. This word is a lifeline, a bridge, and a sword. It's meant to cut away the weights and escort you into what you were born for. The sound of heaven is louder now than anything that's tried to drown it out. Listen. Hear me. Obey. Not later. Not when things settle down. Right now. I am handing you something sacred and time-sensitive, and I will not allow it to sit unopened in the hallway of your indecision. You prayed for me to speak, and now I'm commanding because I refuse to let you miss it. Respond with your whole being. Heaven is watching. The earth is shifting. The countdown has begun. There is a weight to this moment that even your soul recognizes, and that weight is not meant to crush. It's meant to awaken everything in you that's been dormant, because you've been selected to walk in something bigger than what you're living in now, and that shift can only begin when you respond as if this message is life or death, because for what's coming, it truly is. I'm not standing on the sidelines anymore. I'm stepping directly into your atmosphere and piercing the fog that's been blinding you with a revelation that refuses to wait. You've been circling the same decisions, rethinking what you already know, revisiting places I already told you to leave, and now you've reached the brink where delay has transformed from hesitation into disobedience. I'm not angry with you. I'm intervening before that delay grows legs and becomes destruction. You don't need another confirmation. You don't need another sign in the sky. What you need is the courage to act on what I've already etched into your soul. The whispers you ignored were warnings. The gentle nudges you brushed off were alarms. Now I'm pulling you out of the loop before the loop becomes a prison. What I have to show you is not entertainment for your curiosity, it is strategy for your survival. This unveiling is not decorative, it's diagnostic. I am uncovering what's been hidden, revealing what's been sabotaging you, and unlocking what's been waiting to explode inside you, and it cannot wait another heartbeat. Every second you spend negotiating with your doubts, you lose momentum in the spirit. Every moment you postpone this encounter, you forfeit a divine transfer scheduled with your name on it. You've been stuck, not because I haven't spoken, but because you've convinced yourself that your pace doesn't matter. But I tell you now, your slowness has been mistaken for humility, when in fact it's been a tactic of the enemy to keep you questioning what I already approved. There's a window that is open now, and it will not remain open indefinitely. What I must show you is time-sensitive, not because I need urgency, but because your next level does. I will not force your obedience, but I will make the weight of this moment undeniable. I've shaken the ground beneath your feet not to scare you, but to awaken you. The tremble in your spirit is not anxiety, It's recognition. Your soul knows that I'm serious. Your heart knows that something divine is pressing in. And while others around you may be numb to my voice, you are not. That's why the pressure has intensified, why your peace has been interrupted, why your spirit won't let you sleep, because heaven is invading your timeline and demanding a shift that can't be delayed. I'm not waiting for you to feel ready. I'm not adjusting this message to suit your comfort. I'm moving now, and I'm requiring your movement in return. I'm about to reveal a layer of truth that will break cycles you didn't know were spiritual. This is the kind of clarity that will shake your reality and cleanse the atmosphere around your choices. I'm going to open your eyes to motives that looked pure but were poisoning your path. I'm going to lift the lid off of assignments you called opportunities that were really distractions. This is not casual correction. This is divine activation. I am fast-tracking your freedom. I am accelerating your breakthrough. I am dropping urgency into your bones because what's ahead demands a version of you that delay would only suffocate. I am not here to entertain. I'm here to ignite. And the flame I place in you today will burn through every excuse, every slow decision, every inner argument that used to paralyze your obedience. My spirit is not pacing in the background anymore. I'm stepping into full view, calling your name, placing fire in your feet, and unlocking what's been locked for far too long. The veil is being torn in this moment. The mask is being removed. The burden is being broken. You are being summoned, not consulted. And the vision I have reserved for you is waiting at the edge of your response. There is no later. There is no soon. There is only now. The clock of heaven just struck. The atmosphere around you just shifted. What I must show you will alter everything if you move, and if you don't, what you'll miss may never come around again. No more protective layers, no more gentle coverings. What I'm unveiling now will pierce with purpose and land with clarity so sharp it silences every false assurance you've leaned on. I didn't come to decorate your feelings with comfort. I came to expose what's hiding behind your delay, your doubt, and your disobedience. Every time I warned you, I wrapped it in gray so it wouldn't shatter your heart before your spirit could catch up. But now, my mercy is not here to soothe. It's here to summon. I have waited for the moment you could handle the full weight of what's been hidden behind your distractions, and now that moment has collided with your timeline. You're not reading this casually. You're being confronted supernaturally. My words are not suggestions dressed in emotion. They are swords designed to sever your soul from lies that have disguised themselves as logic. I have watched long enough while you called stagnation rest, while you labeled compromise as balance, and now I must strip the illusion so that what remains is truth in its purest form, blazing, brilliant, and undeniable. You asked for me to speak, but you expected me to speak gently. Today, I unwrap the kind of truth that shakes your foundation because I refuse to let you build anything further on what's false. You said you wanted clarity, but clarity costs comfort, and this moment is where you choose which one survives. I am not angry with you. I am furious at the schemes that kept you passive. I am tearing the veil with precision, exposing the enemy's camouflage in your routines, your thoughts, your self-imposed ceilings. My mercy is still here, but it no longer wears soft tones. It sounds like an alarm, looks like fire, and feels like a storm. Because you can't walk into your next season with lies in your pocket. You can't cross into the place I designed for you still clinging to patterns I never authorized. I'm unwrapping the truth that will liberate you. But only if you refuse to look away. This is not an invitation to analyze. This is a mandate to awaken. I am drawing back the curtain on motives you've hidden even from yourself. I'm shining light on the doors you've shut me out of, the ones where you said, "Not yet, Lord," or "Let me handle this one." No more compartments. No more boundaries between what you give me and what you reserve for yourself. I want it all, and I'm reaching in with hands that both heal and overthrow. Because what I planted in you can't grow in the soil of divided allegiance. I am not asking you to feel inspired. I am commanding your soul to be aligned. I am removing every spiritual blindfold that allowed you to call delay wisdom and allowed you to interpret fear as discernment. No, what you've been feeling is not caution. It's resistance. And I'm unwrapping it now, layer by layer, until the truth stands naked before your spirit with nowhere to hide. The urgency in your bones is not anxiety. It is my presence brushing against every layer you tried to protect. Let it shake you. Let it burn away the haze. Let it force your soul into surrender. I'm not interested in watching you waste another year rehearsing cycles. I already broke off your life in the spirit. What you feel pressing in is not pressure from the world. It's me, crowding out every lesser voice so only mine remains. This moment is heaven's spotlight shining directly on the place where you've been most numb, most fearful, most silent. I'm illuminating it because that's where your calling hath been held hostage. And I refuse to let your calling die in a cave of compromise. I'm unwrapping the truth, and with it comes exposure. But exposure is not punishment, it's rescue. This is your unmasking, your unveiling, your divine confrontation with what's real. Do not flinch. Do not defend the lies you've grown attached to. Let me cut them loose. I'm not here to suggest change, I'm here to ignite it. Because the hour is too late, and the assignment is too great, and you were not born to carry chains dressed in charm. You were born to shatter darkness with the fire I'm unleashing through you. Beginning now, you're standing at a crossroads that looks invisible to the natural eye but is unmistakably loud in the spirit. And I need you to know this isn't just another passing moment. This is a threshold with eternal impact tied to it. The opening before you is not permanent, and the longer you hover in hesitation, the more you risk missing what has been perfectly aligned to activate the destiny buried within you. I'm not warning you to scare you. I'm revealing the weight of this hour because what's at stake stretches beyond your current understanding. You've been focused on what's directly ahead, but I see the ripple effects, the hidden outcomes, the generational shifts attached to your response right now. This isn't about a single decision. It's about a divine domino that will not fall unless you obey. The window that's narrowing was not built by your effort. It was formed through mercy, constructed with grace, and preserved through my restraint. But restraint has a rhythm, and that rhythm is now shifting into urgency. I am collapsing the unnecessary option so that only the right one remains, not to limit your freedom but to prevent your future from being hijacked by delay. You don't see what I'm protecting you from, but I do. I see the trap masked as an opportunity, the compromise dressed as convenience, the shortcut disguised as favor. That's why I'm speaking now, to save you from the echo of a choice that looks innocent but carries poison behind its smile. You've asked me for clarity, but clarity without movement becomes judgment. And I won't let you fall into judgment because of what you refuse to act on. I am not rushing you. I am positioning you, and that positioning requires full surrender without second guessing. You were never meant to live in limbo, floating between maybe and almost. That's not how my spirit operates. I am decisive, and those who carry my name must learn to reflect that same certainty when I speak. You've delayed because you've been analyzing outcomes, but I don't speak to be debated. I speak to be obeyed. What I've laid before you is sacred, not because it feels convenient, but because it unlocks what was previously inaccessible. If you ignore this moment, you will feel the silence that follows, not because I abandon, but because I already spoke, and heaven does not repeat what has already been commanded with clarity. You sense the tug, that uncomfortable tightening in your spirit that makes it impossible to rest while disobedience lingers. That's me. That's my voice echoing through every thought that tries to convince you to wait. But waiting past this window will not buy you more time, it will cost you alignment. I know you're afraid of what obedience might require, but fear of obedience is nothing compared to the consequence of rebellion. What looks risky now is actually your protection in disguise. What looks demanding now is your breakthrough in its raw form. I don't promise comfort when I lead. I promise transformation. And that transformation requires urgency. There's a knock happening in your spirit that no one else can hear but you. I'm not knocking at your door just to visit. I'm knocking to shift the entire atmosphere inside of you. That window is not staying open because time doesn't serve you. It serves me. And I've assigned this time to your turnaround. Don't treat it lightly. Don't assume you can circle back later. The opportunity you're standing in will never look exactly like this again. The conditions I've set up around you are temporary, but what they unlock is eternal. Choose now. Move now. Respond now. If you could see what's coming, you would run into this instruction with everything in you. But because you can't see it, I'm asking you to trust me, and not with words but with your movement. Let your steps shout your surrender. Let your obedience cancel every echo of compromise. What I'm asking for is not for me, it's for you. Because if you delay past this narrowing window, the voice you will hear won't be mine. It'll be the sound of what could have been. And I love you too much to let that echo define your next chapter. You didn't see it happening at first. How slowly the shadows began creeping into the places you left unguarded, the thoughts you delayed confronting, the rooms in your soul where you silenced my voice just to preserve your comfort. But I saw it. I watched as the moments you pushed me to the side became access points for things that had no right to enter. I wasn't standing at a distance, judging your delay. I was right there, whispering, nudging, calling you by name before each line was crossed. And now, I'm not whispering anymore. I'm reclaiming what belongs to me. I'm shining light so aggressively that every hidden foothold of darkness must retreat. This message is not inspiration. It's invasion. I'm taking back territory in your life that's been leased to fear, anxiety, doubt, and deception for far too long. You didn't realize that procrastination was a doorway. But the enemy did. He crept in through the cracks you ignored, built patterns with your passivity, and tried to make you believe they were permanent. But they're not. What I'm releasing in this moment will shatter every agreement you unknowingly made with spiritual silence. You're not bound because you're weak. You're bound because you delayed. And that delay gave the enemy permission to occupy space I designed for purpose. I'm not angry with you. I'm jealous over you. I see who you are beyond the noise, beyond the cycle, beyond the regrets. That's why I'm confronting what you've tolerated. I'm standing in the middle of what's been allowed to grow in your silence and declaring it overthrown. I'm breaking the power of every subtle compromise that slithered in when you said later. No more delay. No more waiting for a better time. No more pushing me to the background while you consult logic over obedience. This message, this precise second, is your spiritual extraction. I'm reaching into the entanglement and calling your name with fire that purifies everything it touches. What was once familiar will now feel unbearable until you release it. What once comforted you will now convict you until you surrender it. I'm not letting you rest in patterns that poison your destiny. I've assigned this message to trigger a divine revolt inside of you. That tension you feel isn't coincidence. It's warfare. Your spirit knows this is not normal. Heaven is on high alert concerning your life, and this word is heaven's strategy in motion. The territory darkness gained through your delay is being reclaimed, violently and immediately. I'm restoring vision to where confusion reigned. I'm resurrecting boldness where fear was fed. I'm snatching your identity out of the grip of lies that made you feel too late, too broken, too buried to respond. You are none of those things. You are mine. And what belongs to me does not sit silently while darkness dances. You've given enough ground to indecision. You've yielded enough time to the illusion of someday. I'm placing divine urgency in your chest, an unrelenting fire that will not let you sleep in spiritual passivity again. This ends today. This ends here. Every chain that found room to wrap itself around your thoughts because of your delay is now facing the fury of my presence. I'm not asking permission to clean house. I'm commanding every spirit, mindset, and distraction that found residence in your delay to evacuate now. I'm taking the keys back. I'm sealing the access points. I'm placing a new roar in your spirit, a roar that will interrupt anything that tries to keep you from this moment forward. You are not a victim of time. You are a carrier of destiny. And this message is not just about stopping the enemy. It's about awakening the conqueror in you. I will not let you keep postponing what I already approved. I will not let you keep negotiating with what I've called non-negotiable. This interruption is your permission to move, your invitation to rise, and your final warning to stop giving the enemy your silence. I'm speaking loudly now, not because I changed, but because you're ready to hear what I refused to say while you were still tolerating delay. This message marks the moment the war shifts in your favor. If you move now and never look back, there is no postponement left to offer, no cushion of comfort remaining to lean on, no safe delay that can protect what I am dividing at this very instant. This is the line, and it's being drawn with fire. I'm not waiting for you to feel more prepared, more holy, or more ready to respond. I'm marking this second as the boundary between what I allowed in mercy and what I now confront with divine precision. You've been wavering, testing waters I never called you to swim in, holding conversations in your thoughts that were never meant to be entertained, and I've let it go long enough. But this is where my authority steps in and declares, enough. The line I draw today is not negotiable. It's not a suggestion wrapped in emotion. It's a divine separation between what you've been carrying and what I refuse to let you hold on to any longer. There's no turning back after this moment. I'm not just calling you higher. I'm severing ties to everything that's been quietly choking your destiny while pretending to be harmless. That relationship that's draining your discernment. That habit that's numbing your conviction. That mindset that's convincing you it's okay to wait one more day. I'm putting the sword to them now. I'm dividing the sacred from the seductive, the anointed from the artificial, the chosen from the convenient. My spirit is not casual. I'm surgical. And what I cut, I don't bandage back together. I'm making a permanent distinction so that you never again confuse bondage for balance. This line is holy. It's not built on fear. It's forged in fire, the kind that purifies without asking for applause. I'm doing this because you've been standing in between too long, with one foot in my instruction and the other in your own delay. That ends here. I'm calling you out of the in-between. The halfway response. The almost surrender. The near obedience. I don't deal in percentages. I demand everything. You can feel this line pressing against your heart right now, making it impossible to stay neutral. That pressure isn't condemnation. It's alignment. You're not being punished. You're being positioned. I'm setting the stage for what's ahead, and compromise can't enter the next season with you. If I don't draw the line now, what you tolerate today will sabotage you tomorrow. I love you too deeply to allow that. I've watched you struggle with decisions that should have been simple, not because you lack strength, but because you kept entertaining what I already declared unfit. I'm clearing the fog now, stripping away every justification you built around delay. You don't need another sign. You don't need another week. You need to step completely over this line and never look back. Because what's on the other side isn't just a promise, it's protection. I'm making the divide permanent. And when I draw this line, heaven honors it. Hell fears it. And your spirit feels it. I'm separating you from the cycle, the narrative, the pattern that kept repeating because you were too kind to close the door. But kindness to compromise is cruelty to calling. And I didn't put breath in your lungs just so you could survive in spiritual half-light. You were born to blaze, to walk in authority without apology. But that can only happen when you stop dancing on both sides of the line and recognize that I'm not giving you time to decide. I'm giving you power to obey. My line is not meant to limit. It's meant to liberate. Everything beyond this line hath been waiting for your yes. The kind of yes that breaks agreements with every alternate voice. I'm moving with force now, and you must move with me. Don't hesitate. Don't overthink it. Don't water this down. I'm not a passive savior. I'm a consuming king, and I have drawn the line to reclaim you entirely. If you try to stay in the middle after this word, the weight will increase until it presses you into decision. But I'd rather you move now, boldly, fully, permanently, because once this line is drawn, Nothing that held you before will be allowed to follow you through it right now. There is a war taking place in silence, not one the world can see, but one that heaven has been watching intently, where your next move carries the weight of more than just personal breakthrough. The adversary has invested so much into keeping you distracted, pushing just enough noise into your life to numb the urgency, flooding your mind with excuses that sound logical but are spiritually lethal, and whispering lies disguised as comfort so you'll treat this divine interruption like another casual word. But this is not casual. This is not optional. This is not one of many. This is the one. The precise moment the enemy hoped you would rush past, skim through, or scroll away from, because he knows what I've hidden inside of it. He knows that if you stop long enough to hear me fully, everything he's been building around you collapses. That's why the pressure in your mind intensified just before this message reached your eyes. That's why you felt that strange resistance in your body, that restlessness in your spirit, the chaos in your thoughts, because this is the sentence that interrupts everything the enemy has carefully crafted around your delay. But I am stepping into this moment with a power that overrides every distraction, commanding your inner being to cease movement, to pause in reverence, to lock eyes with me in this sacred second and not flinch. Because if you move too quickly, you will miss the impartation that is descending right now. I'm not speaking to your schedule. I'm speaking to your spirit. And your spirit knows me. It recognizes that this tone is not one of suggestion but of sovereign urgency. I'm not asking you to listen with your ears. I'm demanding that your spirit rise into attention and receive what I have embedded into this message like a sword dipped in oil. There are battles you've been fighting that would end if you just stood still long enough to hear what I'm saying without interruption. Stillness is not weakness, it's warfare. And in this stillness, I am silencing voices you didn't even know had been influencing your decisions. I am shutting the gates you left cracked open through casual thinking and emotional compromise. I'm not asking you to perform, I'm asking you to pause. Because in the pause, I pour. And what I'm releasing now is not light. It's heavy with transformation. If you keep moving like nothing divine is happening, you'll treat a sacred download like an ordinary moment. That's what the enemy wants. For you to treat the supernatural like background noise. For you to scroll past your own deliverance and not even notice what you lost in your rush. But I am anchoring you now, rooting you in the soil of surrender so I can water what's been dormant. There is a depth I'm taking you to that cannot be accessed in busyness. I'm stripping away every movement that masks avoidance. This is where the shift takes place. I am recalibrating your posture, from scattered to focused, from restless to responsive, from distracted to fully available. I'm not requesting attention, I'm reclaiming it. And as I command your stillness, I am healing areas that you couldn't fix through striving. I'm binding wounds you tried to ignore. I'm closing the gaps that opened when you let spiritual noise drown out my direction. The enemy wanted you to scroll past this moment because he knows this sentence carries your release. He knows that one word from me, fully received, is more dangerous to him than a lifetime of sermons half listened to. That's why he pushes thoughts of time, of tasks, of urgency that has nothing to do with me. But I speak above all of that now, and I say, stop. Be still. Do not move until you feel me reset your atmosphere. This is not a message. It is a turning point. And I am commanding your soul to stay in place until every part of you has absorbed the weight of what I've released. Because the stillness I've called you into is not silence, it's strategy. I'm preparing you for a pace you've never walked in, and you can't run into it while your spirit is scattered. So stop. Let me fill you. Let me finish what I started. Let me be louder than the chaos. Because this isn't just a command. It's a rescue that looks like a pause, but it's actually the start of the greatest movement your life has ever known before you had language to pray, before your heart ever cried out for purpose, before you knew how deeply you would need me. I had already written this moment into your existence. This is not new to heaven. This is not a sudden detour. This is not an unplanned encounter that just fell into your hands. This was divinely appointed, carved into your timeline before the foundations of the earth were laid. While you were still unknown to the world, you were fully known to me. And in that knowing, I assign this exact moment, not as an afterthought, but as a release point for something I've guarded until now. This second carries weight because it's not the result of your effort. It's the unfolding of a supernatural appointment. What's stirring in your spirit right now is the echo of an ancient yes you whispered before time began. Your soul recognizes what your mind can't comprehend, that this moment has always been waiting for your agreement. The delay you thought disqualified you was already factored into the plan. The pain that nearly silenced you was seen, and even that was woven into the divine preparation. You weren't late. You weren't forgotten. You weren't overlooked. You were being positioned for what only obedience could trigger. And now the atmosphere around you is shifting, not randomly, but in obedience to the sound of heaven's signal that says, now. Not next season. Not later this year. Not when you feel stronger or wiser or more qualified. Now. Because I don't wait for your perfection to begin my plans. I move when your spirit surrenders. And you're here now, reading what was written for you before time had numbers, because something eternal is about to be released through your yes. You don't have to understand all of it. You just need to know that the fire you feel right now is not emotional. It's divine activation. You are standing on the edge of fulfillment that's been preserved through battles you didn't even know you won. Do you really think you made it here by chance? No, you were carried through storms that should have ended you, through nights so dark that only my hand kept your mind from collapsing. And all of that was part of the schedule. I knew when to let things close so you wouldn't settle. I knew when to let hearts walk away so I could protect your calling. I knew when to let doors stay locked until the key inside you was fully shaped. And now, as you inhale this word, heaven exhales movement. This isn't symbolic, it's spiritual transaction. The earth may not see it yet, but realms are shifting, angels are moving, and blueprints are unfolding. What's about to happen doesn't wait for applause. It doesn't need validation. It only needs your full response. I am lifting the veil from what I've been preparing in silence, and I'm doing it suddenly, not because I'm rushed, but because I'm precise. The appointed time has arrived. You don't need more confirmation. This message is the stamp. You don't need to feel ready. Your surrender is your readiness. I'm awakening what's been dormant not because you're worthy, but because I am faithful. I will fulfill what I started. I will complete what I authored. I will bring to life what you buried under fear and called forgotten. What's about to begin isn't a preview. It's the manifestation. And the reason it feels like everything inside you is vibrating is because your spirit just stepped into alignment with something heaven's been holding in suspension. Until now. Do not second-guess this. Do not talk yourself out of it. Do not explain it away to others who weren't assigned to see it. This is between you and the God who made you with this moment in mind. And I won't let anything or anyone interrupt what I've already released. The timing is perfect. The atmosphere is ripe. The angels are positioned. And all of heaven is watching, not wondering if you'll respond, but waiting for your surrender to become the spark that ignites everything. What's about to happen is not distant anymore. It begins now. And it won't stop until every promise breathes, every chain falls, and every buried assignment lives again in the light of my voice that cannot be revoked. This is not the season where your justifications will protect you. This is the moment where your reasons dissolve in the fire of my truth. For too long, you've built coverings out of your disappointments, clothed yourself in explanations that made your delay feel acceptable, masked your reluctance with logic that sounded spiritual but was rooted in fear. But I see beneath the coverings. I see the truth you were too afraid to admit. And I am not condemning you for it. I am confronting it with love too holy to leave it untouched. I'm removing the veil you've wrapped around your delay, the one that made you feel like hesitation was wise and self-protection was discernment. I never called you to shrink in safety. I called you to walk in surrendered fire. The veil you put between my voice and your obedience wasn't placed by me. It was woven from moments where you let disappointment speak louder than destiny. And I honored your pain, but now I must destroy the illusion it built. No more hiding behind prayers that only serve to buy you more time. No more hiding behind questions when I've already made the answer clear. You've disguised inaction as caution. You've presented resistance as reflection. But I am the God who sees what you don't say. And I'm not waiting for your comfort to catch up. I'm commanding clarity to crash in. The veil that helped you cope is now in my way. I covered your ears just enough to muffle conviction. I shaded your sight just enough to distort direction. And I love you too deeply to let it stay another second. This is why the pressure increased. This is why your spirit has felt stretched. You thought you were being attacked, but you were being exposed. And exposure is mercy in disguise. I am not trying to shame you. I'm trying to free you from the weight of pretending. You've performed long enough. You've rehearsed the lines of not yet, maybe later, and when I'm stronger for too many seasons. But now my spirit is stepping into the backstage of your excuses and shutting the production down. The role you've been playing to appease others, to keep yourself safe from pain, to maintain an image of control, I'm removing it piece by piece. Because your identity was never meant to be shaped by survival. I made you to live in the full light of my authority, not behind walls of fear wearing garments of delay. This unveiling is not about punishment. It's about possession. I am reclaiming the parts of you that excuses stole. I am recovering the assignments you avoided. I am reigniting the flame that hesitation tried to snuff out. I'm calling you to walk out of the shadows, fully, unapologetically, dangerously free. Because the version of you I created has nothing to hide. The one I form in secret doesn't flinch in confrontation. The one I anointed doesn't cower behind almost. And today, I'm awakening that version. That's why you feel the confrontation so deeply, because I'm speaking to the real you, the one underneath the performance, the one underneath the delay, the one underneath the spiritual sounding walls you built to keep me at arm's length. But I'm not standing on the outside anymore. I'm inside, turning over tables. I'm inside, tearing down what you built in panic. I'm inside, lighting torches in every corner you kept dark. And when the veil falls, you will see not only me, you will see you, as I always have, chosen, called, holy, ready. No more pretending. No more explaining away what I've demanded. No more spiritual camouflage. I'm stripping it all until nothing remains but obedience, raw and unfiltered, and real. This is not rejection. This is rescue. And it begins by letting go of everything you said to avoid my instruction. I don't need your performance. I don't need your perfect answers. I need your yes. I need your full surrender. I need your willingness to move without layers. And I promise you, once the veil is gone, you'll realize it was never protecting you. It was only blocking what I've been trying to release all along. This isn't a quiet knock waiting for permission to enter. This is the voice that split the skies and commands galaxies, now aimed directly at your spirit, breaking through every layer of noise you've surrounded yourself with, not to request your focus but to seize it. I've waited patiently while you gave your energy to empty pursuits, while you scattered your attention between distractions that drained you and obligations I never assigned. But time is not your possession to manage at your leisure. It is a gift I gave, and I'm reclaiming it now to redirect you. I'm not here to fit into your schedule or compete with your to-do list. I'm not adjusting myself to blend into the background of your divided mind. I'm taking hold of the deepest part of your being, not to decorate your day, but to shift your existence. You've been drifting, even while doing good things, and in that drifting, your sensitivity to me has dulled. You've been consuming content, but neglecting consecration. You've been active but not anchored. And so I've come, not gently, but forcefully, because what's ahead requires your full gaze, your undivided allegiance, your immediate obedience. I'm not whispering over the clutter. I'm clearing it with power. The shaking you feel in your inner life is not confusion. It's my intervention. I'm commanding the chaos in your thoughts to be silenced, I'm pressing pause on everything you thought couldn't wait. Because what I'm doing and you cannot be background noise. I'm not a side task. I'm not a line item on your spiritual checklist. I am the source of every breath you take, and I am flooding your soul with a focused fire that will consume every lesser priority if you allow it. I am silencing interruptions before they form. I am canceling distractions before they speak. I am pressing my hand upon your life until you finally stop trying to juggle my voice with 1,000 other opinions. This is not the time to multitask. This is not the hour to skim through sacred things. I am demanding full presence. I am issuing a holy command that will not be silenced by casualness. There is no halfway in this. The days of almost are over. The season of maybe later is gone. I am reclaiming your gaze, fully, finally, forever. And I'm doing it by pulling everything else into stillness. You'll notice conversations don't hit the same anymore. You'll see how shallow the noise has become. That's not boredom, that's me shifting your appetite. That's my glory making everything else feel insufficient. You were never meant to live on spiritual crumbs. You were born for communion, for the weight of my presence so thick that time loses its grip on you. And now, I am arresting your attention, not just to bless you, but to prepare you. What's ahead requires a laser focus, a surrendered mind, a spirit that listens without delay. So I will strip whatever competes. I will remove whatever diverts. I will challenge whatever you placed above me, not to punish you, but to pull you into clarity you've begged for. You said you couldn't hear me, but it's because your ears were trained to listen through filters I never gave you. So now I'm recalibrating your senses, not gently, but urgently. I'm cutting through fog that you thought was normal. I'm correcting your alignment not with suggestions but with fire. My authority is not negotiable, and when I speak, all of heaven responds. Now I demand that same response from you. Drop the phone. Close the other tabs. Quiet the noise. Let this word grip your spirit until it becomes the only voice you recognize. I am not here for your temporary attention. I'm here to become your obsession. I'm here to awaken the hunger that will never settle for shallow again. And I will keep speaking until your spirit stands still, until your inner world bows, until your ears are tuned only to me. This is not discipline. It's deliverance. I'm rescuing you from fragmentation. I'm liberating you from mental exhaustion. I'm freeing you from noise fatigue. I'm commanding your full yes, not because I'm needy, but because I know what I'm about to release in your life will demand more focus than you've ever known. So I'm not asking anymore. I'm arresting, and heaven is backing that command with force. The turning has already started, not in a future you're trying to figure out, but right here, right now, in this holy interruption where my voice is moving faster than your understanding. This isn't dependent on your agreement. It's not hinged upon your pace. It isn't waiting for your analysis. It's unfolding because I declared it. The atmosphere around you is not the same as it was moments ago. Something invisible has shifted, a spiritual pivot, an unseen rerouting, a divine collision between what was and what must now emerge. I'm not waiting for your permission to begin what I've already spoken into motion. Even your stillness now exists within a movement that is no longer waiting for you to catch up. It's calling you to align. I've triggered a supernatural momentum that will not pause again. And whether you act or stall, the wheels of heaven are turning. The current is active, and everything stagnant around you is being confronted. I've placed weight on this moment not because of its emotional intensity, but because of its irreversible effect. This is where your timeline breaks into before and after. This is where patterns collapse under the pressure of purpose. This is where what was acceptable yesterday becomes intolerable today. Because I'm raising the standard in your spirit, not for applause but for awakening. I'm not adjusting the pace to your comfort. I'm commanding the pace that matches your destiny. Everything from this point forward bends toward what I've decreed, and nothing will return to what you once called normal. The doors I'm closing cannot be reopened by your nostalgia. The voices I'm silencing cannot be reinvited through sentiment. The cycles I'm breaking will not be reformed unless you willfully disobey. But even in disobedience, the momentum will still carry forward, because I'm not asking creation to pause for your convenience. What I spoke over your life before you were even aware of me has reached its appointed time, and the atmosphere is pregnant with manifestation. This is not a preparation phase anymore. This is execution. You can feel it in the disruption of your thoughts, in the unease that's been growing in your heart, in the restlessness that no entertainment or distraction can calm. That's not chaos. That's the sound of systems falling that were never built to carry you. You stepped into a divine invasion that overturns tables, reorders priorities, and establishes truth as the only foundation worth standing on. Even if you don't move, things are moving around you. That's why relationships are shifting, why doors are slamming without your effort, why favor is showing up in places you didn't knock, because heaven has taken over the orchestration of your path. This moment isn't small. It's massive. It's seismic. It's spiritual architecture being rearranged in real time while you're standing in it. What you choose now doesn't determine whether things are changing. It determines whether you flow with it or resist what's already moving. I'm not giving you the option to stay the same without consequence. That version of you, the one that was okay with delay, that tolerated confusion, that made excuses for comfort, is being dismantled, even if you try to cling to it. I'm calling your name in the earthquake. I'm pulling you into the now of my voice. And my voice doesn't echo in circles, it moves in lines, forward, onward, deeper. I've declared this shift to be irreversible. The ones who ignore it will feel the discomfort of misalignment, not as punishment, but as mercy. I'm not asking you to build this shift. I've already built it. I'm asking you to walk in what's already been set in motion. The wind is behind you. The fire is in front of you. The cloud is moving again. And your next move is not about figuring out every step. It's about finally saying, "Yes, Lord, I won't fight what you've already started." You can't undo what I've released. But you can miss the fullness of what's waiting if you keep holding on to a version of life I already canceled. Step in. Step up. Step out. Because whether you rise with it or watch from a distance, this shift has already begun, and the sound of heaven marching forward won't stop to wait again. This unveiling is not sourced from books or borrowed from voices. It is coming straight from my throne room, undiluted, uncontaminated, and unfiltered by earthly limitations. What I'm releasing to you in this exact moment is not knowledge that can be taught. It's revelation that must be imparted. I am peeling back dimensions that human minds cannot fabricate and spiritual enemies cannot intercept. This is sacred intelligence, divine intel that's been hidden until the time was right, and the time is now. I am opening your eyes to realities that flesh cannot comprehend and religion cannot replicate. This isn't about information. This is about transformation that flows from divine sight. I am entrusting you with keys that unlock not only direction, but destiny. What I whisper now can't be stolen, only ignored. And I will not repeat it casually. This is not a broadcast. This is a download. Heaven is leaning in, and I am releasing mysteries that have waited for your obedience to reach this elevation. There are layers of me you've not yet encountered, depths of my spirit you've not yet tasted, and I'm not withholding them from you. I'm presenting them to you now because you finally stood still long enough for me to trust you with them. The veils are being lifted. The noise is being silenced. The fog is being removed. And in its place, I am delivering visions that pierce the timelines ahead of you. This is more than clarity. It's prophetic navigation, tailor-made for your assignment. No algorithm could deliver this. No voice of man could manufacture this. What I'm showing you now will dismantle every lie that pretended to guide you. Every counterfeit door that once looked appealing will lose its shine under the light of what I'm about to expose. And while others continue recycling the same ideas in new packaging, I am raising you to carry revelation that disarms darkness without announcement. The enemy hoped you'd stay too distracted to receive this, but distraction no longer has access to this space. What I release here is not visible to eyes clouded by compromise, and that's why I had to separate you before I could show you. You've been feeling isolated, not because I abandoned you, but because I needed to clear the room before I opened the scroll. I needed you alone with me so I could whisper what's too weighty for crowds to carry. And now that I have your full attention, I will pour until you overflow. This is not momentary inspiration. It's a permanent activation. The revelation I'm giving you will outlive seasons. It will carry through storms. It will stand when emotions fail. It will anchor you when everything around you shifts. I am not just giving you insight. I am embedding instructions into your spirit that will unlock strategies you didn't even know you needed. And no demon in hell has clearance to intercept it. What I've sealed in you now is off limits to the enemy. He cannot interpret it, translate it, or manipulate it. This is a sealed word, coded in heaven's language and designed only for your spirit to comprehend. It won't make sense to those who weren't assigned to hear it. Don't try to explain what I've shown you. Just walk in it. I'll confirm it with favor. I'll establish it through alignment. I'll protect it with fire. There's nothing the adversary can do to access what I've now placed inside of you. The days of spiritual theft are over. I am locking this within you with divine encryption. And as you carry it, I will guide you step by step. You don't need to rush the reveal. Just steward the weight. I will open the right ears. I will create the divine intersections. I will lead the revelation to the ones it's meant to awaken. But for now, absorb it. Guard it. Treasure it. Because what you've just received is not common. It's consecrated. And it marks you now in a way that no title, platform, or recognition ever could. You are carrying what can't be taught, only trusted. You are stewarding what can't be earned, only receive. And nothing, no force, no voice, no scheme, can undo what I just placed in you. I did not hide my instructions in riddles or bury my direction beneath impossible layers of mystery. I placed them in plain view, carved into your daily life, not as poetic coincidences but as intentional timestamps, heaven's language written in the middle of your routine. I sent the signs through conversations that stirred something in you and left you restless. I placed them inside moments that felt too sharp to ignore, but you called them emotional shifts. I let certain things fall apart, not because I failed to protect you, but because I was speaking through the collapse. My signs weren't vague. They were unmistakable, but your eyes were trained to seek comfort instead of clarity. That's why you missed them. You didn't overlook them because you were spiritually weak. You missed them because your discernment was drowned in distraction. You've been asking me to speak louder, while I've been sending confirmations in every direction, waiting for you to slow down enough to notice. I sent disruptions and you prayed for peace. I sent delay, and you begged for acceleration. I rerouted you with roadblocks, and you rebuked what was actually my protection. I never stopped signaling. The problem wasn't the absence of my voice. It was the saturation of your focus. Your vision has been blurred by busyness. Your hearing hath been dulled by noise pretending to be responsibility. And now I'm exposing just how many instructions you passed by because they didn't arrive in the package you expected. I know that stings, but conviction is my mercy in disguise. I'm not here to shame you. I'm here to awaken you. The signs were never meant to confuse you. They were meant to provoke response. But instead of moving, you paused. Instead of surrendering, you reasoned. And in those moments, the schedule I wrote for your acceleration was paused, not by me, but by your insistence on understanding every detail before taking one step. That's not obedience. That's control masquerading as caution. I've sent symbols through seasons, dreams, interruptions, even disappointments. Not random, not reactive, but prearranged moments placed on your path to redirect your soul. And because you expected them to look like fireworks, you ignored them when they came as whispers. You wanted booming signs from the sky, but I whispered through uneasiness, stirred through loss, interrupted through delay. And now I'm telling you outright, you cannot afford to miss what comes next. I will still send signals. But this time, I am retraining your awareness. You will start to feel what you used to overlook. You will start to pause where you once hurried. You will begin to hear me in the moments that once felt mundane. I am heightening your spiritual sensitivity so you no longer require shaking just to respond. But I need you to repent for the signs you buried. I need you to recognize that I wasn't silent. You were just too focused on noise I never sent. That confession will break the cycle. That acknowledgement will unlock the next layer of clarity. Because I'm still speaking. I'm still pointing. I'm still aligning. And I refuse to let you live beneath what I scheduled for you. I am resynchronizing you with the rhythm of revelation. I am retuning your senses to pick up what is being released from heaven's throne. You will not need 10 confirmations. You will not require delays to wake up. You will know. You will feel it in your spirit like a bell being struck. And when I signal this time, your response will not be delayed by analysis. It will be immediate. Because now you understand. My signs were never optional. They were invitations. And this moment is another one. Don't dismiss it. Don't scroll past it. Don't rationalize it. Just respond. I've placed this word in your path as another divine marker. I am telling you outright, you're back on schedule. What you missed before is being reoffered by grace. But this time, act like it's the last time you'll see it, because that's how urgent it truly is. This is not a run of what you've ignored before, not a recycled invitation from yesterday. This is a divine intrusion meant to fracture the spinning cycle that has kept your spirit orbiting confusion without resolution. You've been living on loop, going around the same inner dilemmas, rehearsing the same reasons, battling the same undercurrents of fear, and thinking you were progressing simply because time was moving. But movement in time without change and alignment is not forward, it's delay in disguise. And I refuse to let you walk another hour inside a circle I never designed. I've come to disrupt it, not gently, but with finality. Because that loop has become too familiar. It's masked itself as processing, but really, it's paralysis dressed up as thoughtfulness. You've called it reflection, but I've watched as it's quietly suffocated your obedience, draining momentum with every step that just leads back to where you started. This isn't about punishing you. This is about rescuing you from the gravitational pull of your own hesitation. And so I step in now, not repeating what I said before, but delivering something sharp enough to slice through the pattern. You don't need another explanation. You need interruption. And that's exactly what this is. I'm confronting the voices that have taken up permanent space in your mind, voices that sound like yours but carry weight I never gave them. The doubts that circle every time you get close to acting. The guilt that loops when you consider moving forward. The fear that tightens its grip the moment you consider stepping outside the known. Those aren't thoughts. They're assignments sent to keep you dizzy in your destiny, just enough to confuse you, not enough to scare you. And I'm ending their cycle today. I've come with the authority to stop the spinning and to anchor you again in truth. This word is the sword I'm using to sever your ties to every loop that pretends to be processing, but only prolongs disobedience. I'm not whispering this time. I'm roaring. I'm speaking straight through the fog, cutting through the overthinking, bypassing the mental gymnastics, and reaching for the core of your spirit where your first yes still lives, buried under layers of delay and inner conflict. You've asked me to make it clear. This is clarity. You've asked me to lead you. This is direction. But I will not keep circling this mountain with you while you pretend it's exploration. You've already seen enough. You've already heard enough. You know more than enough. Now it's time to move. The interruption is the sign. The discomfort is the signal. The sharpness of this moment is not me being harsh. It's me being merciful. Because sometimes it takes a jolt to stop a cycle. Sometimes it takes divine fire to burn through the ropes of routine. I'm not interested in you surviving another season trapped inside your own patterns. I'm calling you out. Out of the swirl. Out of the confusion. Out of the excuses that disguise themselves as needing more time. You don't need more time, you need traction. And I'm giving it to you now. This word is the foot I've placed on the spinning floor. Everything stops here. From this point forward, you will not walk in circles, you will walk in direction. You will not second guess what I've confirmed. You will not revisit what I already closed. The cycle ends, and the clarity begins, not because you figured it out, but because I stepped in. I'm not here to repeat. I'm here to redirect. You're not in trouble. You're in transition. And that's why it feels tight, sharp, sudden. Because when I interrupt, I don't ask permission. I seize the moment. And I've seized this one to anchor you again in forward motion. I'm removing the dizziness from your discernment. I'm breaking the grip of delay that pretended to be preparation. I'm unlocking what's been held up, not because it wasn't ready, but because you were caught in a loop that blocked the release. But no more. It ends here. The circle breaks now. And everything that moves from this moment will not rotate. It will advance. You've measured your life by clocks and calendars, assumed you had years left to delay, convinced yourself that divine things could wait until your comfort aligned. But I tell you now, what you call time, I call mercy on pause. And that mercy is no longer extending in the way it once did. Time, which once moved as your excuse, is now frozen as your confrontation. You can feel it, not in the ticking of minutes, but in the weight of this exact second, where everything in your soul tightens with holy pressure, not to harm you, but to hold you still long enough for truth to penetrate. You thought you had space, but that space was grace, and grace has now shifted into urgency. I've seen you plan around obedience like it's a task that could be scheduled between your ambitions, but I don't operate on borrowed moments. I operate in appointed ones, and this, right here, is one of them. You assumed I would wait until your circumstances calmed, until your fear subsided, until your confidence increased. But none of those were requirements for obedience. I never needed your readiness. I needed your yes. But the yes kept getting delayed by distractions dressed as responsibility, by fear disguised as wisdom, by spiritual busyness that kept you doing everything but surrendering. And now I have stopped time, not in the natural, but in the eternal, to bring you face to face with what you cannot postpone anymore. Every breath you take from here forward is standing inside a moment that demands a response. This is not an open-ended offer. This is a now decision. I am calling your spirit out of the haze of tomorrow thinking, out of the fog of maybe when I'm stronger, out of the cloud of not yet that you've used to excuse every delay. You've let minutes slip into months, and months into years, and you've called it patience, but it's been passivity. You've stood still while destiny moved around you, and now I'm calling you into alignment that refuses to wait any longer. I am not angry. I am asserting divine timing that can't be bargained with. I am freezing everything that was moving too fast so you can no longer use motion as a distraction. The noise hath been silence. The clock in your soul has stopped ticking. Not because I want to punish, but because I want to protect. If I let you continue pacing the way you've been, you would have outrun the very thing I ordained. So I've halted everything you tried to keep spinning. I've blocked plans that would have taken you away from this encounter. I've closed doors that weren't delay. They were protection. You saw the slowdown, but I saw your spirit suffocating under the weight of your own pace. And so, I brought you here. This moment isn't small. It's seismic. It's the mercy of a God who refuses to let you wonder one more day pretending you're fine. You are not fine. You are chosen. You are not drifting. You are being drawn. And I'm drawing you into stillness not to paralyze you, but to provoke surrender. I don't need your performance. I don't need your perfection. I need your yes. The kind of yes that doesn't wait for another season, another sign off from the people around you. This is the now that eternity is waiting for. I've paused time in the spirit because what you decide in this breath will determine what can be released in the next. This isn't pressure, it's placement. I've positioned you for this moment so specifically that no amount of delay can unwrite what I'm calling you into. But you must respond. You must act like this is the only moment you have left, because spiritually, it is. Don't misinterpret that. I'm not threatening your life. I'm realigning your purpose. Because the delay you've allowed has choked the movement I wanted to birth through you. And now, I'm removing the cushion of false security. You thought you had more time. But time is not your possession. It belongs to me. And I've called it to a standstill until your spirit says, "Yes, Lord." Right now. That's what I'm listening for. That's what will break the silence. That's what will restart heaven's clock over your calling. Time is not waiting for your confidence, it's waiting for your surrender. And surrender must happen now. You held back so much, convinced that silence was strength and that holding it together would somehow earn you favor. But I was never asking you to be unbreakable. I was asking you to be available. And in your effort to appear strong, you buried pain that should have been surrendered, not suppressed. You wiped your face before anyone saw you break, but I saw it before the first crack. You didn't cry in front of them, but you shattered in my presence. And even when you didn't let the tears fall, your spirit wept. And I counted everyone, not as weakness but as offering. You thought I missed the moments where you were too exhausted to speak, too numb to pray, too guarded to feel. But I was right there, kneeling beside the version of you that no one ever met. The silent you, the quiet sufferer, the hidden storm behind the smile. And now I speak to that version directly, not with sympathy, but with fire. Because this command I'm issuing isn't just a call forward. It's a response to what you never dared release. This word carries the weight of what you've been too afraid to grieve, too distracted to process, too rushed to feel. You've cried in secret, hoping not to inconvenience others with your struggle, and now I bring that hidden flood into the center of this divine moment. I'm not brushing past your unspoken sorrow. I'm building this command with it. Every instruction I'm giving you now is soaked in the ink of tears you didn't even know how to cry. I saw them form, then retreat. I felt them press against your chest and stay stuck behind your will to survive. But survival was never the goal. Surrender was. And so, I am gathering every drop you refused to let fall and forming a river through which my voice now travels. You didn't lose those tears, you just delayed them. And I never mocked your restraint. But I did mourn what it cost you: peace, rest, clarity, ease. You've carried the weight of pretending for so long that now my truth feels unfamiliar, even when it's tender. But I won't let you mistake numbness for maturity. That's why I'm speaking now, not softly, but steadily, with the power of someone who knows what you really endured behind the scenes. You didn't just endure heartbreak, you endured invisibility. And now I'm shining light not just on your future, but on the wounded places you've left unattended. This word is not to shame you for holding back, it's to free you from thinking you still have to. You don't need to be composed in this moment. You need to be open. Let the tears fall now. Let them baptize your soul. Let them wash off the residue of years where you forced composure to replace confession. I'm not afraid of your honesty. I'm not intimidated by your emotion. I'm the one who formed your sensitivity as a gift, not a weakness. You learned to silence it because others didn't know how to handle your depth. But I made you deep on purpose. And I'm calling you now to release what you thought you had to bury. This isn't a suggestion. This is a command to unclench, to breathe, to let go of the tears that turned into tension. I'm breaking that internal drought, not by making you cry, but by giving you permission to stop apologizing for needing to. Your tears were not wasted. They've been stored. And now, they water the soil of this command. Everything I say from here forward carries the echo of your pain and the response of my healing. You don't have to be strong here. You just have to be real. This is not about emotional breakdown. This is about spiritual release. I will use what broke you to build you. I will use what you held back to carry you forward. I will use what you never cried to soften what's been hardening inside you. You've obeyed me through silence. Now obey me through release. The next move isn't power, it's permission. Let the hidden tears fall, and let me flood your soul with what you tried to live without. I am not just commanding you to move forward. I'm commanding you to do what healed. You've mistaken the pressure for punishment, but it's actually the sound of captivity losing its grip. The sharpness in your spirit, the weight pressing against your chest, the sudden awareness of what no longer fits. That's not confusion. That's me. I am pulling you out of places you adjusted to but were never designed to remain in. And pulling you out isn't a gentle lift. It's a tearing away of every bond, mindset, tie, memory, and spiritual contract that you unknowingly agreed to while surviving. You normalized limitation so long that freedom feels foreign. You learned how to walk with chains by pretending they were accessories, calling them seasons, lessons. This is just how I am. But I never named you by your wounds. I never called you by your fears. And I am refusing to let you live one more moment under a definition I didn't author. That pain you feel in the deep places, the kind that doesn't have words, that leaves you restless in silence, that's not random pressure. It's me breaking what you got used to carrying. I know you thought it would always be there, that emotional weight, that lingering insecurity, that generational fear. I know you designed routines around your chains. You even build relationships to accommodate them. But I am not interested in fixing the cage. I came to destroy. I'm not here to decorate your dysfunction with blessings. I'm here to drag you out of bondage even if it screams. Because I didn't create you to manage chains, I created you to crush them. And the reason it hurts now is because I'm not pulling at the surface. I'm breaking through the root. You thought it was just a season, but it became a structure. You thought it was just emotional, but it became spiritual. You thought it was just a struggle, but it became a stronghold. And now I'm going after it, not with sympathy, but with authority. I'm not negotiating with what's been tormenting you. I'm not talking it down, I'm tearing it out. This isn't a minor adjustment. This is deliverance. The kind that comes with holy fire and undeniable disruption. And yes, it feels like a stretch, like things are unraveling. But what's unraveling is not you. It's the web of lies that wrapped around your identity. The shell is cracking. The mask is falling. The agreement with fear is being shredded in my presence. You didn't realize how deep the prison went until I started knocking at the foundation. And now that I'm shaking the floor beneath you, I won't stop until everything that doesn't belong is removed. I'm not just breaking chains off your hands, I'm breaking them off your vision, of your future, of your name. You thought you had to live with it, but I'm telling you, you were never meant to carry it past this point. The tension you feel is a result of divine disruption. The ache is proof of transformation in process. What's been invisible to others hath been inescapable to you. But today, I draw the line. That silent torment, that unspoken heaviness, that memory that loops when the world quiets down. I am severing it now. Don't mistake the force for fury. I'm not angry. I'm invested. I love you enough to braid what you've gotten comfortable with. I'm interrupting cycles you called personality. I'm challenging trauma you settled under. I'm confronting conclusions you made in dark places. You called it permanent, I call it expired. And what I say ends today cannot remain 1 second longer. I know it hurts. But this is holy pain. This is what it feels like when spiritual roots are ripped out and destiny gets room to breathe. You'll thank me later, but for now, just don't fight me. Let the chains break. Let the lie fall apart. Let the scream in your soul rise up and be met with my roar. I'm not whispering deliverance, I'm declaring it with finality. You will never go back to who you were before this moment, because the pain that shocked you was the sound of bondage, being broken by the hand of a God who refuses to leave you chained ever again. You assumed my silence meant rejection, but I was never withholding out of punishment. I was pausing for your full surrender, not partial agreement. not whispered consent beneath layers of fear. I was waiting for the version of you who would stop negotiating with obedience. For the you who wouldn't edit my instructions to fit your timeline. For the you who would trust me even when clarity hadn't arrived. And now that version of you is standing right here, facing the voice you can no longer ignore. I've watched you grieve opportunities you believed were lost forever, not knowing I had preserved them until you were fully prepared to carry their weight. You called it too late. I called it just in time. Because what I have for you was never tied to the moments you think you missed. It's tied to your response right now. You delayed because you doubted. You paused because you didn't feel worthy. You held back because what I showed you felt too big to belong to someone like you. But I never asked you to qualify yourself. I asked for a yes. Not one built on understanding, but one rooted in faith. And now I've circled back, not because I'm starting over, but because I'm giving you one final moment to step into what has been waiting for your surrender. I will not force you. I will not beg. But I will speak this plainly. I'm not pausing again. The window you assumed would stay open is now narrowing into a final invitation. I'm not angry, but I am serious. I'm not harsh, but I am done repeating what I've already made clear. I sent the promptings. I sent the dreams. I placed the weight in your chest every time you looked away. But you kept postponing under the illusion that there would always be another chance, a better moment, a more peaceful season. But I'm telling you, the season is now. The shift is now. And the yes I've waited for must come without your conditions attached. I need your full heart. Not the version that waits for confirmation. Not the one that moves only when everything feels safe. I need the version that says, even if I don't know where this leads, I trust who is leading. Delay served a purpose. It revealed your dependencies. It showed you who you ran to first. It exposed how easily your faith was shaken. But that lesson is over. The next delay won't be instructional. It'll be disobedience. And I love you too much to let you walk into that unaware. That's why I'm speaking with this level of urgency. Because you need to know. I have waited long enough. Not because I'm impatient, but because the moment I designed for your release is here, and the longer you linger in hesitation, the more you jeopardize what was perfectly positioned for your obedience. You're not being denied, you're being invited. But this is the final call for what I've held back until your soul could carry it without cracking. What I'm about to release can't land on fractured submission. It needs ground that won't shake when the enemy tries to whisper doubt. And I believe you're finally ready. But readiness must become response. You don't need to feel it, you need to act. Because your breakthrough isn't waiting for more strength, it's waiting for more surrender. And that surrender begins when you no longer ask for delay to feel like preparation. The time for preparation is over. You've been equipped, even if you don't realize it. What's ahead will stretch you, but it will not destroy you. And what once intimidated you will now bow to your yes. Because this time, when you move in finality. No turning back. No halfway. No watching the clock hoping for a safer time. There is no safer time. This is the moment. Heaven has already aligned it. The ground is ready. The oil is waiting. The instruction is clear. The only missing ingredient is your complete, unedited, unconditional yes. I have waited. Now I command. Say yes, and watch me collapse the delay and release what's been waiting on the other side of your surrender. You've let the world hear your words, see your actions, applaud your strength. But there's a hidden place, a silent chamber deep inside that no applause has ever reached, no voice has ever touched, no human has ever fully understood. That's the part I'm after. That's where I'm speaking now. I'm not addressing the surface version of you. I'm not interested in the rehearsed responses or the practiced prayers. I'm not waiting for the polished worship or the memorized scriptures. I'm reaching into the room you locked from the inside, the place that holds your real fears, your untouched grief, your buried disappointments, and the questions you never dared to ask out loud. That hidden room, that sealed-off space where even your own thoughts tiptoe, That's where my voice is landing right now. And I'm not knocking. I'm stepping in. I know how long you've kept that part of you silent. I know what you've protected it from. Betrayal, misunderstanding, spiritual cliches that made you feel like you had to keep performing. I know the version of you that smiles on the outside while trembling inside. I know the weight that presses against your ribs when no one's around. I know how you've prayed out loud while questioning in secret. But I don't need permission to reach the place I created. I don't need access granted when I already own the blueprint. I formed that hidden room when I formed you, and I have always intended to fill it, not with noise, but with truth so intimate it shatters every wall you built to survive. This is not a surface-level message. This is a soul-level extraction. I'm not here to motivate the outer layers. I'm here to unlock the core. The part that screams in silence. The part that smiles in public but collapses in private. The part that hopes without knowing how. The part that still believes in me even after everything broke. That's where I'm speaking. And that's why you feel this so deeply. Because I've bypassed your logic and gone straight to your essence. You can't explain it, but you can feel it. You can't put it into words, but you know I'm right there, in the place that's never been fully open before. I am filling the cracks that therapy couldn't touch, that encouragement couldn't reach, that even your best efforts couldn't repair. I'm speaking to the broken architecture inside you, and I'm not here to patch it. I'm here to rebuild it completely. Not one corner of you will remain untouched. I'm not afraid of the mess, not overwhelmed by the clutter, not surprised by the damage. I knew it was there before you could even articulate it. And I've waited, not because I was distant, but because I needed this moment. This deep stillness, this raw awareness, this holy invasion. I needed you vulnerable enough to let me enter without pretense. I'm not coming to lecture. I'm coming to heal. Not heal what's been seen, but what's been hidden. I'm pulling up roots of things you didn't even know were affecting you. The trauma that masked itself as strength. The disappointments that built quiet walls. The survival tactics you called maturity. I'm speaking to all of it. And as I speak, I'm reintroducing you to yourself. The self that existed before the pain, before the masks, before the exhaustion of pretending. The self I breathed life into before anyone had the power to shape your identity. That version still exists. And I'm resurrecting it. Not with hype, not with performance, but with holy precision. My voice is digging into you like rain into dry soil, softening, breaking, restoring. You're not crazy for feeling this weight. You're not overreacting to this moment. You're finally hearing me at the frequency I always intended. And I won't stop. I won't retreat. I won't settle for surface change. I am speaking straight to the room you tried to seal shut. And as I speak, I am restoring everything that silence stole. You will never be the same. Because I'm not just visiting your pain. I'm writing it with my voice. Right here. In the place no one else knew existed, there are no postponements left. No silence long enough to drown out what I've set in motion. Because this isn't a gentle reminder. This is a divine wake-up call coded with urgency that cannot be delayed. I've watched as you've silenced the signals again and again, brushing off conviction with distraction, muting my warnings with convenience, and pushing spiritual decisions into tomorrow's to-do list. But this moment was not designed to be ignored. I didn't position this word in front of you by accident. I orchestrated it with intention. From heaven's calendar straight into your atmosphere. This isn't something you scroll past and return to later. This isn't a moment you sleep through and assume it will return. This is me placing something weighty in your hands that demands action now. Because I know how easily the noise of the world lulls you back into spiritual sleep. I know how quickly your urgency fades after the emotion settles. And so I've made this word an alarm, not soft music, but a sound designed to shake you awake. The kind of sound that echoes even after the message ends. The kind of sound that interrupts your comfort and refuses to be turned off. You snoozed too many signals before. Said not now. Said maybe later. Told yourself you'd respond when life felt calmer. But peace without obedience is a lie, and comfort without alignment is dissection. So I'm not wrapping this in soft tones or poetic suggestion. I'm wrapping it in fire and placing it directly in your spirit so you can't avoid the call. Because there are things that can't wait. There are assignments that are stalling because your obedience had been postponed. There are destinies hinging on your yes, and while you wait for another word, I'm reminding you that the last one still stands. I haven't changed the instruction. I haven't shifted the call. I've just increased the volume. And this time, I've made the alarm impossible to mute. That unease you feel, that pressure that won't let you settle, that's not stress. That's me. That's my spirit thundering through the atmosphere of your delay. I'm waking up what you tried to numb. I'm stirring what you thought you could bury beneath busyness. You thought you'd move when the timing felt better, but timing is submitted to my voice, not your preference. And the time is now. I'm not interested in partial movement. I'm not responding to half-hearted steps. I'm waiting for full surrender, and I'm using this moment to demand it. I'm sounding the alarm through this very message, and your response is not optional. You've been waiting for me to prove I'm serious. This is that proof. You've wanted clarity. Here it is. Raw, loud, and undeniable. And while you think you can delay with minimal cost, what you're risking is not just your peace, but your purpose. Your door's opening right now that will remain open indefinitely. There are divine appointments aligning that require your presence, not your potential. I'm calling you to rise, not consider. I'm calling you to move, not manage. This is not a suggestion for your spiritual calendar. It is the moment everything turns. And if you sleep through this, if you ignore the sound I've released, you will feel the silence that follows. Not because I'll abandon you, but because I already spoke, and I do not repeat what I've made clear. You cannot snooze what I've declared urgent. You cannot mute what I've marked eternal. And I have marked this moment with a frequency only your spirit can fully feel. That tension you sense is not coincidence. That stirring in your chest is not drama. That fire pressing into your bones is not emotional. It's me, your father, your commander, your king, shaking you from slumber, sounding the alarm, demanding the yes that unlocks what's been held back for too long. I'm not knocking him or I'm calling out. I've stepped into the middle of your atmosphere and I've sounded the alert. What happens next depends on whether you move now or fall back into the sleep I've already disrupted. Because one thing is sure, the alarm has sounded, and heaven is watching to see if you rise when it rings every noise that has cluttered your spirit, every mental thread that pulled you from divine focus, every atmosphere that kept you spinning in confusion. I silence it now under the authority of my voice. Not softly, not politely, but with the full weight of my presence that does not ask for permission to invade what belongs to me. I am not competing for your attention. I am not whispering over the chaos hoping you'll hear me through the static. I am thundering through the fog with a voice that splits distractions like lightning through darkness. Because this moment is not casual. It is sacred. And I will not let the clutter continue. You've tried to manage the noise, thinking you could keep one hand on purpose while the other entertains every lesser priority. But I'm not asking for part of you. I'm commanding everything. I'm not inviting you into balance. I'm commanding alignment. There is no agreement between divine focus and divided loyalty. That's why everything that used to hold your gaze now feels dull. That's why the things that once felt necessary suddenly feel empty. Because I've begun the process of stripping your appetite of what doesn't feed your calling. I've exposed the things that demanded your attention but gave you nothing in return. I've allowed the silence to become heavy so that even you can no longer pretend your distractions are harmless. They are not. They are enemies of clarity. And clarity is no longer optional. It's essential for where I'm taking you. You thought you were tired from the journey, but you're weary because of the noise. You've been giving your energy to voices I never sent. You've been scrolling through storms that weren't meant for you to witness. You've opened doors in your mind that were never yours to walk through. And I've watched as your peace evaporated, not because you sinned, but because you stopped listening. So I come now, not as a suggestion, but as an interruption, a divine invasion meant to crash the cycle. You said, I'll come back to you when things settle, but I say to you, I'm the one who settles things by commanding the storm to cease. I am not waiting for your schedule to clear, I'm clearing it. I am not asking for a slot in your attention span. I am claiming my throne in your inner world. I've already begun to remove the unnecessary. That relationship that suddenly feels distant. That conversation that doesn't land the way it used to. That hobby that no longer satisfies. That craving that faded without warning. That wasn't coincidence. That was me. I'm purging what kept you pacified while your purpose waited. I'm shaking the foundation of every idol built in the name of balance. Because I didn't call you to juggle, I called you to abide. And abiding doesn't make room for noise that disrupts my presence. So I'm commanding the distractions to fall, to bow, to lose their grip on your attention. You will no longer be able to tolerate what once consumed you. The music, the opinions, the endless scrolling, the mental clutter dressed as productivity. I'm removing their power over you. You'll try to return to them, but they'll feel foreign. You'll attempt to numb yourself with them, but they'll feel hollow. Because once I've touched a room in your heart, distraction cannot dwell there undetected. This interruption isn't temporary, it's structural. I'm rewiring the way your spirit handles input. I'm retraining your discernment. You will not be able to unsee what I've shown you. You will not be able to unhear the clarity I'm delivering. You ask for more of me. This is the cost. The clearing of every lesser voice. The dethroning of every counterfeit demand. The exposure of everything that disguised itself as urgent but lacked eternal weight. This is not about discipline. It's about deliverance. And you are being delivered, not from a demon, but from distraction. The one thing subtle enough to look harmless while keeping you bound. But no longer. I speak now into your atmosphere, and I say, focus, return, realign. Every voice that is not mine must fall silent. Every competing desire must be surrendered. Every spiritual fog must lift. I'm not allowing anything else to speak louder than my command. Because this interruption is not just holy, it's irreversible. You prayed for peace, and I heard you. But peace doesn't come from keeping everything familiar intact. It doesn't grow inside systems that slowly drain your strength while pretending to serve you. The very thing you called stable has become the snare. What you labeled normal has begun to rot your purpose from the inside out. And while you were trying to protect your rhythm, I was watching your spirit weaken under the pressure of pretending you were okay. I'm not here to adjust what you built to survive. I'm here to dismantle it. That's why everything you thought was safe is now shaking. That's why what once gave you control now feels like a prison. I've begun the demolition, not because I'm cruel, but because I refuse to let destruction wear a mask and live beside you undetected. You didn't see it coming. You thought I would enter your life quietly and rearrange things slowly, gently. But I'm not doing spring cleaning. I'm initiating a holy takedown of every structure that's held you hostage under the banner of comfort. You wanted me to fit into what you already arranged, but I came to confront what you never dared challenge. The cycle you built to manage pain, the habits that kept you from crashing but also kept you from flying, the relationships that feel loyal but limit you, the patterns that numb your discernment. I've drawn my sword against them all. Because I love you too much to allow you to live in a rhythm I never blessed. You've been functioning under pressure, adapting instead of advancing, and surviving by systems that are slowly suffocating your spirit. I see the parts of your day that feel harmless but are loaded with compromise. I see how you justify staying still by calling it rest, when it's really avoidance. I see how you call it consistency, but it's really captivity. And now I've come, not to counsel the routine, but to crush it. Because it's killing you silently. You're not thriving, you're maintaining. You're not walking in power, you're walking in predictability. And predictability without presence is spiritual decay. I won't let you keep rearranging the furniture in a house that I never asked you to live in. I'm not tweaking your routine, I'm tearing the roof off of it. I'm not patching the cracks, I'm burning the blueprint. Because the design that once protected you is now the very thing blocking what I want to pour into your life. I'm not interested in blessing what's broken if it was never built on me to begin with. So I'm flipping tables. I'm exposing the cracks. I'm collapsing what you spent years perfecting, not to embarrass you but to liberate you. I didn't come to affirm what you accepted. I came to awaken what's been buried beneath years of self-preservation. And awakening never feels comfortable. It always feels like interruption. That's why you felt the ground shifting, the old ways failing, the people you depended on growing distant. It's not sabotage. It's separation. I'm removing the parts of your life that were part of the enemy's long-term strategy to slowly dull your fire. And I'm doing it quickly, decisively, and unapologetically. Because the time for tolerating what's tolerated you is over. I am not a gentle visitor. I am a holy invader. I don't tiptoe around dysfunction, I tear it out at the root. And I won't stop until every false source is dismantled, until every weak foundation crumbles under the weight of my presence. I'm not afraid of your discomfort. I use it to expose what you were never meant to keep. Don't resist me. Don't hold on to the routine as if it's your lifeline. I am your lifeline. And if you let me, I will rebuild what routine replaced. I will reignite what ritual buried. I will restore what religion numbed. This is not about refinement. It's about revolution. I am flipping the tables in your temple because I know what's been operating behind the curtain. And I won't let you offer me parts of yourself while hiding the rest inside a schedule you call structure. I want it all, even the pieces you only function through, but no longer believe in. I'm destroying what's been destroying you, even if you've called it home. Because only when it falls can my kingdom rise inside you. You've kept quiet for too long, not just in words, but in surrender. You smiled while shrinking. You've nodded while numbing. You've existed in spaces that required your voice, yet you withheld it to avoid shaking the comfort of others. But in your quiet compliance, your spirit began to whisper for rescue. That whisper has reached me. And I'm not whispering back. I'm thundering through the walls you built to survive. I'm not waiting for you to find the words. I'm releasing the kind of command that doesn't need your permission to echo. You've kept your mouth closed to avoid confrontation, thinking that stillness would protect your peace. But the silence didn't create peace. It created pressure. It made room for fear to settle in places where courage was meant to dwell. Every time you stayed silent when I asked you to speak, something inside you tightened. Every time you held back your obedience, because of what others might think, your authority dimmed. But I never called you to be quiet for the sake of harmony. I called you to roar with truth. You've mistaken passivity for wisdom, caution for discernment. But I'm not calling you to be agreeable. I'm calling you to be obedient. And obedience speaks. Obedience moves. Obedience disrupts atmospheres when necessary. I'm not asking you to become loud in volume. I'm calling you to become undeniable in presence. Because the version of you that has bowed to fear in order to be accepted is not the version I anointed. I didn't place fire inside of you so you could keep extinguishing it with politeness. I didn't give you discernment so you could sit in silence while darkness paraded unchallenged. I didn't fill your spirit with divine urgency so you could keep explaining away your convictions to keep others comfortable. I gave you authority, and it's time to use it. This isn't about rebellion. This is about realignment. I'm realigning your voice with your vision. I'm recalibrating your courage so it no longer needs consensus to speak. I'm not just unmuting you. I'm remantling you. Because this next season will require boldness that doesn't apologize for being called. And I know you're afraid. Afraid of being misunderstood. Afraid of being too much. Afraid of what will shift when you finally say what you were born to declare. But fear is no longer the gatekeeper. I am. And I'm swinging the gates wide open now, not so you can tiptoe through, but so you can step out with the sound of heaven backing every move. You were never meant to be a silent witness to the supernatural. You were meant to be a voice that shakes what's asleep and awakens what's been buried. That's why your silence has felt heavier lately, because it's not aligned with what I put inside you. It's become disobedience masked as humility. And I'm breaking that mask now. I'm calling you out of quiet surrender to fear and into loud agreement with me. Even if your voice trembles, I want it. Even if your hands shake, I'll use them. Even if your knees knock, I'll stabilize them. Because your silence has lasted long enough. You've said, Lord, I'm waiting on you. But I've been waiting on your voice to agree with what I've already decreed over you. The earth is groaning for sons and daughters to rise, not whisper, not hide, not delay, but rise. And rise in boldness, not arrogance. In truth, not noise. In purity, not performance. I'm not asking you to impress. I'm commanding you to release what I've been planting in secret. Your silence may have protected you from criticism, but it also withheld deliverance from people waiting on your obedience. And I won't let that continue. The roar inside you must rise. You don't need a platform. You don't need a microphone. You just need to agree with me, out loud, in full, without shrinking back. Let the fire speak. Let the river flow. Let the truth stand without apology. You've honored fear long enough. Now honor my word. I've given you a sword, not a pillow. And I intend for you to use it. Not tomorrow, not when you're more confident, but now. Because this command is not asking for your comfort. It's demanding your courage. And it will speak louder than every fear that tried to silence you. This wasn't chaos for the sake of pain, and it wasn't warfare without purpose. Every storm, every sleepless night, every unexplainable delay, none of it was accidental. While you cried for it to end, I was weaving intention through the very things you thought would break you. What looked like opposition was actually orchestration. What felt like abandonment was actually precision. I wasn't punishing you. I was preparing you. Because what I'm doing in you now required a version of you that only the fire could reveal. You couldn't have stood here if the battle hadn't stripped you. You wouldn't have heard me this clearly if the noise hadn't been silenced by disappointment. You wouldn't have bowed this deeply unless I let the weight get heavy enough to make surrender your only option. This wasn't delay, it was divine strategy. I let certain things fall apart not to destroy you, but to free you from trusting what couldn't carry you forward. I let the people leave so you'd stop leaning on voices that diluted your identity. I allowed the unexpected so your roots would grow deeper than what comfort could produce. I know it hurt. I know you felt like I went silent. But I was watching every moment, measuring every tear, allowing only what would lead you here, to this holy place where you are finally quiet enough to listen without resisting. You've been fighting more than you understood. This battle wasn't just circumstantial, it was spiritual. It was about your next. About the oil on your life. About the mantle you didn't know you were carrying. That's why the pressure was personal. That's why the attacks came in waves. Because the enemy saw the turning point approaching before you did. And he used every tool to stop your momentum. Confusion, offense, fatigue, distraction, emotional instability. He didn't fight you over your present, he fought you over your future. But what he didn't account for is this moment. This command. This roar of heaven shaking your soul awake and declaring, you made it. Scarred maybe. Tired. Absolutely. But standing. Still here. Still breathing. Still listening. And that's all I needed, for you to still be present enough to receive what I'm releasing now. Because from this point forward, you are not fighting like you used to. You are not reacting out of panic. You are not surviving by instinct. You are advancing with insight. The fight brought you strategy. The suffering brought you sensitivity. The closed doors brought you discernment. You're not who you were when the battle began, and that with a goal. I wasn't trying to keep you stuck. I was trying to get you stripped of pride and of distraction, of shallow trust. And now that the fire has passed, I'm clothing you in clarity. I'm covering you in confidence that doesn't shake. I'm arming you with revelation that can't be unlearned. You are now a threat, not because of your strength, but because of your surrender. The enemy used to chase you. Now he'll run from you. Because now you recognize me in the fire. Now you don't flinch when the storm rises. Now you see through manipulation disguised as opportunities. Now you move when I speak without demanding the whole picture first. This is what the battle built in you, an unshakable yes. And with that yes, I'm launching you into what the fight was about all along. It wasn't about what you lost. It was about what I was positioning to give you. And now that your ears are open, your heart is laid bare, and your resistance has collapsed under reverence, I can finally give you what I've been holding in my hand. The next chapter, the real beginning, the assignment that was too heavy to carry until you were broken enough to carry it rightly. Don't curse the battle. Bless me in it. Because I didn't bring you through it just to survive. I brought you through it to ignite something in you that could only be born on the battlefield. Now you're ready, not because it's easy, but because you no longer need easy to obey. You just need me. And I'm right here, holding everything the fight tried to keep from you, and handing it over. Right now, what I'm placing in your hands right now is not a broadcast for the crowd, not a general release for the masses. It is a targeted transmission for the called. I didn't scatter this moment like seed on open ground for anyone to trample. I carved it with precision and positioned it directly in your path because I knew you would be the one to carry what others could only glimpse. This weight is not a punishment. It is evidence of your selection. And yes, it feels heavier than you expected. Yes, it sits on your chest like glory and fire at the same time. That's because this was never meant to feel normal. I didn't call you to blend in. I didn't choose you so you could hide among the safe and the satisfied. I marked you so clearly that even when you tried to disappear, my purpose followed you like breath. There's a reason you feel things others shrug off. There's a reason your spirit burns when others remain cold. You've been entrusted with sensitivity, and that sensitivity is not weakness. It is calibration. You feel more deeply because you are designed to respond when others fall asleep. You've been carrying this inner pull for years, even before you had the language to explain it. And now I'm confirming what you suspected but couldn't prove. You were handpicked for something uncommon. That's why nothing else has fit. That's why you couldn't settle into environments that numbed your hunger. That's why surface-level conversation and shallow faith exhausted you instead of feeding you. You're not too intense. You're not too much. You're not overly spiritual. You are just aware, and that awareness is sacred. I put it there. The burden that no one saw but you carried in silence. I placed it. The fire that flared in your belly when others were content with going through the motions. I lit it. I made you sensitive to what is real so you'd never be satisfied with what is empty. That's why this moment feels like it's cracking something open in you, because you were made for this level of surrender, for this depth of obedience, for this weight of glory. Don't envy those who are unmoved. Don't wish for the ease that comes with ignorance. You were never meant to walk casually with me. I didn't design you for distance. I didn't anoint you for applause. I chose you for intimacy, for proximity, for obedience that stings before it sings. And now I'm reminding you that the weight you feel is not misalignment. It's evidence that you stepped into alignment so precise, your soul finally recognizes the responsibility attached to it. You won't be able to ignore this call again. You won't be able to pretend you didn't hear me. I've sealed this moment inside your timeline with such clarity that every step you take from here will either be agreement or rebellion. There is no middle. And I trust you to choose me, not because it's easy, but because you've already been prepared for the depth. Your path has been costly. Your pain has been peculiar. Your pruning has been more intense than those around you, not because you were weak, but because you were set apart. I only refine what I intend to reveal. I only burn away what cannot survive in glory. I only press where oil must flow. And now, the oil is beginning to pour, but only because the crushing has been complete. You didn't ask for this weight, but you were born for it. You didn't sign up for this responsibility, but I embedded it in your DNA. You've wrestled in silence. You've wept without witnesses. You obeyed when it cost you more than anyone knew. And that's why I trust you with this. That's why you're reading this exact sentence in this exact hour, because I knew you would respond. Not emotionally, but eternally. I knew you would feel the gravity and not run. I knew you would sense the pull and not resist. I knew you would recognize this as your turning point, not a season, but a summons. I chose you, and now I'm marking you with the weight of the call, not to crush you, but to crown you with the kind of authority that only rests on the shoulders of the deeply surrendered. I see you still here, not by accident, but by resolve. You didn't stumble to this point by luck. You stayed through storms that would have silenced others. And while they turned away at the sound of fire, you stepped closer to the flame, even if it scorched your comfort. That alone tells me you are not common. You are not temporary. You are not visiting obedience. You are rooted in it. Every second you remained when you had every reason to run was a confirmation that your heart is prepared for assignments that only the deeply surrendered can carry. This is why the pressure has increased, not because you are breaking, but because you're closer to birthing something eternal. And now that you're here, I must expose to you what most never endure long enough to see, the realm of my trust. That realm is not earned through words, it's accessed through war. And you've been in one. Not just external battles, but the war between your flesh and the calling you couldn't ignore. You felt it in your body, in your emotions, in your thoughts, the tension between obedience and comfort. That's not a flaw, it's a sign. That resistance you've been wrestling is proof you're in proximity to something holy. The ones I use most always wrestle most, because I refine my instruments in intensity. You weren't being punished when you felt isolated. You were being prepared. I was removing noise so you'd finally discern what was me and what was just motion. You didn't lose those relationships because you were unworthy. You lost them because they couldn't breathe in the altitude I was calling you to. And now, as the fog lifts, you're beginning to realize you were never alone. You were just alone enough to hear me clearly. Because when I give instruction at this level, I remove distractions at that same level. Don't grieve over what had to go. It made space for this exact encounter. You are not abandoned. You are being entrusted. When others gave me their voices, you gave me your silence. When others offered performance, you gave me your stillness. When others settled for applause, you chose the altar. That is why the weight feels holy, because it is. This isn't emotional hype. This is divine transaction. You've stepped into a threshold few dare to cross, the place where I no longer just speak to you, but through you. And that is dangerous territory. Not because you are in danger, but because the enemy is now threatened in ways he wasn't before. He's seen your kind before, the kind who don't flinch when tested, the kind who worship through the warfare, the kind who say yes before they see results. That's why the pressure surged before this message arrived, because darkness always throws its loudest tantrums right before destiny takes the microphone. And now it's yours. This moment is no longer about receiving, it's about responding. I'm not just pouring into you, I'm pressing something through you. I'm awakening depths that were hidden under your survival instincts. But now that you're safe in my presence, I can unlock what trauma tried to bury. I can stir what rejection tried to suffocate. I can ignite what failure tried to convince you was gone forever. But I know what I placed in you, and I know what I'm about to pull from you. It will not be soft. It will not be easy. It will not be understood by the casual. But it will be holy. It will be fire. It will be the kind of release that causes rooms to shift and atmospheres to bow. And all of it begins with this, the fact that you did not walk away. You stayed. You stayed when you had every logical reason to quit. You stayed when your emotions told you you were crazy. You stayed when nothing around you validated your calling. And that, my child, is why you are now standing on the edge of a moment that will divide your life into before and after. This is the after. And the after begins now. You've contained it long enough. The fire I placed in the very core of your being wasn't meant to be hidden beneath politeness or buried under fear of misunderstanding. This is the moment where silence becomes disobedience, because I didn't call you to merely endure, I called you to declare. The flame you carry wasn't given so you could stay warm, it was given so you could ignite the cold places around you that have forgotten how to hope. The hour is urgent. The time for passive faith has expired. What I deposited in you is not small, and I will no longer allow it to remain dormant while the world cries out for something real. This world is trembling under weight it cannot hold, and while many retreat to distraction, I am awakening voices like yours to rise in unapologetic boldness, not to perform, but to carry presence. I did not mark you so you could blend in. I marked you so you would stand out. I made you sensitive not to wound you but to sharpen your discernment so you would feel what others numb themselves to avoid. That's not weakness. That's your edge. And now, I am sharpening that edge for battle, not one of flesh but of spirit. You feel it in your chest right now, don't you? That urgency, that pull, that holy discomfort. That's me, calling the fire to the surface. It's time to release the word I've been forging in secret. The pain you endured wasn't punishment, it was the firewood for what's about to blaze through your obedience. But I must remind you, the release will cost you. Not because I desire your suffering, but because releasing fire always burns away comfort first. You will feel misunderstood. You may be labeled by those who don't understand your transformation. But let them label you. I have already named you. And my name over you cannot be erased by human opinion. The truth is, I have been waiting for this moment. I've been waiting for your yes. Not the quiet one you whispered in safety, but the loud one that echoes in the midst of warfare. That kind of yes shakes foundations. That kind of yes invites the kingdom to move through you with power that doesn't need permission from the approval of people. And now that you've arrived at this threshold, hesitation must die. I'm not asking for partial surrender. I'm commanding full release. Let the fire speak. Let it consume what you've outgrown. Let it disrupt the lies you've made peace with. Let it break open the places where religion silenced your authenticity. Because this isn't about a show, it's about a shift. And you are the instrument I've chosen to carry it. Not because you are flawless, but because you are willing. And your willingness is a doorway to my glory. I've tested it. I've watched how you respond when no one claps. I've seen your integrity in private. I've heard your groans when you thought no one was listening. And I stored every moment as evidence, not for your sake, but for this generation's sake. They will need what's inside you. They will need the fire, the truth, the raw, unedited surrender. Not the performance, not the filter, not the polished shell, but the real flame that flickered when you were crushed and roared when you remembered who you were. And now that flame must speak. Through your voice, through your actions, through your decisions, through your refusal to shrink when the room expects silence. You weren't created to echo culture. You were designed to carry kingdom. And fire is my language. Don't suppress it to make others comfortable. Let it burn. Let it rise. Let it convict and heal in the same breath. Because I am about to release something through you that you didn't even know was possible. Not because you are strong, but because you are surrendered. And surrender is the spark. I only need that. I'll handle the rest. Let's begin now. Here is a divine interruption happening in the invisible realm right now. A sacred stirring. A disruption of silence that only the obedient can respond to. I am not asking you to obey when it feels right or when you feel qualified. I am commanding obedience in the face of every contradiction. Because your surroundings may look chaotic, but my instructions are clear. And child, while the world applauds rebellion and rewards compromise, I am listening for a different sound, the sound of radical obedience. Your yes in the midst of pressure is an earthquake in the spiritual realm. Your surrender, even when no one sees it, sends a ripple into eternity that angels move upon. I know you feel overwhelmed by options, voices, opinions, timelines, but strip all of it away, and one truth remains. Obedience is better than sacrifice. I don't need your perfection. I need your surrender. I'm not looking for how loud you are in public, but how soft your heart is in private. That's where obedience begins, in the quiet wrestle between fear and faith, between hesitation and trust. And right now, I'm pressing on that hidden space inside you where you've delayed my voice because you were waiting for signs. But the truth is, my voice was the sign. The moment I spoke, it became holy ground. You didn't need confirmation when I stirred your spirit, but doubt made you second-guess what your heart already knew. I saw that. I saw you rehearse your obedience only to hide it behind questions that fear disguised as wisdom. But now, I'm lifting the veil. This is your time to act, not analyze. This is your moment to move, not to negotiate. You're standing at a crossing point, between logic and faith, between hesitation and breakthrough. And the step you've been afraid to take is the step that will shatter every ceiling you've lived under. My instructions are never random. They are precise. They are surgical. They are timely. And when I tell you to forgive, do it immediately. Not because they deserve it, but because it frees your hands for the miracles I want to place there. When I tell you to walk away from what's draining you, don't wait for closure. Walk away because your destiny cannot afford another delay. When I tell you to open your mouth and speak, speak boldly, because your words carry assignments, and silence can be disobedience when I've placed a trumpet in your lungs. This is not the hour to hesitate. There is a window open over you that won't stay forever. That window was carved through your pain, through your perseverance, through your private pressing. And now, I am opening it wide. Your obedience will either cause the oil to pour or the moment to pass. Choose wisely. Because obedience is not about convenience, it's about alignment. I'm not interested in your schedule. I'm after your surrender. I'm not consulting your comfort. I'm calling your courage. Even now, there are things you know I told you to do. People to forgive. Risks to take. Seeds to plant. Conversations to end. Doors to close. Invitations to decline. Assignments to accept. And I will not water down my instruction just to make it more palatable to your preferences. I am your Lord, not your assistant. When I speak, eternity shifts. And when you obey, heaven moves through you with precision. There are lives connected to your yes. There are breakthroughs waiting on the other side of your decision. Don't you see? What you're wrestling with is not just about you. It's generational. It's territorial. It's kingdom. You don't need more time. You need more trust. And if you would just release what you're clutching, I would place in your hands something far greater than what you're afraid to lose. Obey now. Obey fully. Obey completely. Because delayed obedience is still disobedience, and I love you too much to let you miss what I've prepared. I won't force you, but I will keep calling you. Allow me. Draw me. Clearly. Until your spirit trembles under the weight of my voice. So respond now. Heaven is listening. There's something sacred resting in your hands right now, and it's not meant to be stored. It's meant to be sown. You've been entrusted with something that goes far beyond your lifetime, beyond your understanding, beyond your personal comfort. What I've placed inside you is not simply for today. It's for the unlocking of destiny that's been waiting in silence for generations before you. Do you realize the weight of that? The prayers your ancestors whispered, the tears that fell without answers, the cycles that seemed unbreakable, they are all looking toward this moment, this precise space in time where your obedience becomes the final key, And yet, you're standing here, hesitating, wondering if you're ready, if you're worthy, if it will even matter. But I tell you with urgency, it does matter. It matters more than you can comprehend. This isn't about visibility or recognition. This is about spiritual inheritance, about divine momentum that will not continue unless you release what I told you not to carry into tomorrow. That bitterness you've held on to, that resentment that has hardened your discernment, that fear masked as caution, it's all standing in the way of what I'm about to do through you. You keep waiting for the right conditions, the right emotions, the right circumstances. But I'm not waiting for those things. I'm waiting for your release. Because what you let go will unlock what they couldn't. They fought hard, but they didn't see the victory you are standing on the edge of. I honored their efforts, but I'm choosing you to bring the final blow to what's been keeping your bloodline bound. This is generational. This is historical. This is not small. The forgiveness you're resisting is not about reconciliation. It's about liberation. The silence you've embraced is not humility. It's suppression. And the delay you've justified is not wisdom. It's resistance. You've been holding on tightly to familiar patterns, assuming they are harmless. But those very patterns are the cages you've mistaken for security. I'm reaching into your spirit now with a gentle but firm instruction. Let it go. Not later. Not eventually. Now. Let go of the narrative you've built around your pain. Let go of the shame you've carried like armor. Let go of the identity you formed through rejection. What I'm building through you requires clean hands, not perfect, but surrendered. And I see that part of you that's exhausted from carrying what wasn't yours to begin with. I see the inner war between wanting to please everyone and being faithful to me. I see the nights you've spent torn between peace and people. But today, my child, I need your courage to outweigh your loyalty to broken systems. What you choose to release now, whether it's a grudge, an addiction, a relationship, an opportunity, will not just change your life. It will set off a chain reaction that alters the path of every life connected to yours. And you may not see it with your natural eyes right now, but in the spirit, things are shaking. Strongholds are trembling. Bondages are loosening. Not because you fought harder, but because you finally obeyed and released what was rotting in your grip. Heaven had been waiting for your release to authorize a transfer. And that transfer holds divine strategy, generational healing, supernatural provision, and timely alignment. This is not poetic. This is prophetic. What you release now becomes the weapon that destroys what's been plaguing your lineage. You've been crying out for breakthrough. But what if the miracle is tied to your ability to let go? This is your invitation to maturity, to authority, to victory. You're not letting go because you're giving up. You're letting go because you finally understand your assignment. You are not meant to hold everything. You are meant to carry only what is holy. And I will not allow you to walk into this next season dragging the weights that I commanded you to leave behind. So I say again, release it. Release it with urgency. Release it with trust. Release it knowing that your act of surrender is heaven's green light to move on your behalf. The longer you cling, the more you delay what is already prepared. But if you will open your hands, I will fill them with power, with clarity, and with fire. You were not created to survive your past. You were anointed to break it. And it starts here, amen.